Beijing burns more coal than the rest of the world combined, and it's come at a cost. Coal is now the second biggest contributor to the smog here in Beijing, which you can see behind me, only after cars. Last year, coal accounted for 66% of China's total energy mix. But the country is hoping to reduce that ratio down to just 62% by 2020. Coal fuels many things here in China, including steel mills, northern China's central heating system, along with many traditional homes. However, I visited one community here in Beijing where the government is trying to help families to move off coal and onto electricity. In the depths of Beijing's winter, its old alleyways, called hutongs, can be freezing cold. Unlike new buildings, the homes here aren't on the central heating grid. For many, burning coal is the cheapest way to keep warm. Yang Yuying and her husband, Wang Jingdong, relied on coal until recently.
The fumes from our coal stove were poisonous unless we contained them. We had to make sure every hole was covered.
In 2012, they switched to electricity, thanks to government subsidies of up to 60%. That means they only pay about 3 cents an hour during the day and just a penny an hour at night. Along with being more affordable, electric heat is also safer than burning coal. Earlier this year, Beijing announced plans to ban coal sales in its 6 main districts, including this one, by 2020. And that means getting more communities like this to switch to natural gas and electricity. After decades of shrouding the sky with a hazardous haze, Beijing's coal-fired thermal plants will also be closed down, meaning more of the city's central heating will come from clean energy too. Official data shows coal accounted for 1/4 of the city's energy use in 2012, but it's set to shrink to 10% by 2017, as more families quit burning coal at home.
Most households within the Second Ring Road have electric heating. This has reduced Beijing's coal use by 280,000 tons every year. It's also cut our CO2 emissions by 730,000 tons a year.
With up to 500,000 people who die in China each year as a result of outdoor air pollution, moving people here in its biggest city away from coal use is becoming even more urgent.
Grace, the so-called APEC blue skies last month showed just how efficient China can be in controlling air quality, as well as the very challenging task that China is facing to hold production and to restrict traffic. Do you think, Grace, that the Chinese government has, in fact, the public support to push forward the coal limits and the energy reform?
Well, indeed, Michelle, during the APEC meeting, some 800 factories were suspended in the province bordering Beijing, Hebei. But in terms of support from industry leaders, it is hard to say. According to a Credit Suisse survey, steel output fell by 13% during this period, which obviously makes it very difficult for that particular industry. One other restriction that was imposed here was car restrictions. Drivers had to enter the city on alternating days with their cars using odd, even license plate rules. Many people I spoke to here during the APEC meeting said that they felt that this was worth it for the result that we had. However, despite this, many people still buy 2 cars, one with an odd license plate and one with an even one, in order to get around that restriction. So Beijing is now considering an even tougher traffic charge for cars entering the city center, as seen in Tokyo and London. Back to you.